Well, that was certainly a draft. I'm Joe Rethnam with my review of WWE Smackdown, the first day of the WWE draft. And they just rearranged the furniture in the house. They took a chair, moved it over here, took the love seat, moved it over there, and threw out that old mattress. And nothing has really changed. I mean, maybe it'll be better after Raw. I mean, who knows? I'm just saying that even though they have a lot of talent on, on their roster, in their entire company, especially with the Performance Center recruits, I don't think this is really going to do anything. It might freshen up things for a couple months, but realistically, they need an entire change in creative, namely Vince stepping down and somebody else coming in, or at least somebody that can tell Vince no, because Bruce Pritchard sure as fuck can't. But that being said, there were some positives on the show. One of them was not Stephanie McMahon showing up. Philanthropy is the future of marketing. It's the way brands are gonna win. No, I'm not gonna forgive that, because Stephanie McMahon is a dumb bitch, and she deserves to be fucking ridiculed for it. And also, she ain't a very charismatic TV performer. So, first round of the draft, it's 3 for Raw, 2 for SmackDown. That's basically the idea. And champions can go to another brand, and that championship goes to that brand. And tag teams can also either be separated or drafted together. It's really convoluted. They're kind of just saying, hey, we're just going to do whatever the fuck we want. We're going to muddy up our rules, and we're going to do this. So, Drew, Reigns, and Asuka stay on their particular brand. So, Drew, Asuka on, Drewska, if you will, on Raw, and Reigns on SmackDown. Rollins to SmackDown. He's away from the Mysterio family for about an hour. And then the Hurt Business stays on Raw. Okay, Rollins is happy to be on SmackDown. He's away from the Mysterio family. You won't have to look at them. About that, Seth, you probably should have read the goddamn script, assuming Vince didn't change it as the show was going on, which is very likely. So, first match is Big E versus Sheamus, Falls Count Anywhere match, and one thing I want to praise them doing is they took a lot of goddamn bumps. Now, were they unnecessary? Sure. They built up this feud I didn't really care about, but they went all out here. I mean, they really did. They beat the shit out of each other. I call it a Falls Count Anywhere Irish Cream match because, of course, I did. Big E does that dive. Big E needs to stop doing that dive if he wants to A, get a singles push, and B, see 40 without being in a wheelchair. Because he nearly cracked his head on the goddamn floor. I don't want that to happen to him. Even if I wasn't a fan of Big E, I don't want to see that shit happen. Don't take these unnecessary risks. New Japan, Kota Ibushi, Tetsuya Naito, a whole bunch. Anyway, enough of that. That's for another day. Of course, Sheamus tying up a black man in the ropes and caning him. No wonder Fox wanted SmackDown, so this kind of shit could happen. And Michael Cole says, Big E taping a helpless, shameless together. Michael Cole is one of the worst commentators to ever be involved in wrestling. I absolutely hate him. I hate the mere existence of him on WWE programming. He does not need to be a commentator or anywhere near the company anymore. He's fucking trash. I understand getting excited and making mistakes. Shameless. What the fuck? It's not a show, and Sheamus has been around the company long enough, Cole. Come on. So we go backstage, and, Sheamus' back was all fucked up, and then he's throwing milk and eggs on Big E or whatever. Of course, they're having a black guy do whiteface on Fox. Man, Fox really loves to bury people, don't they? So, there's a lot of bleeding, though, from this. I mean, not from the milk and the eggs. That would have been very, very weird. You would have had to have wondered where they were storing that. Windshield spots where Big E was bleeding like crazy. Sheamus was bruised up and bleeding like crazy. He kicked the trunk off at one point. We get a big ending through a table, and 1, 2, 3. This might be on my favorite matches of the year list, honestly. WWE has had slim pickings as far as, main roster stuff. This was pretty damn good. Now, it's going to be a little bit weird to, compile a list together. If I do a top 50 among all the brands, that's going to be a little difficult. This might be on there. This was a pretty damn good thing. This was right up there with the parking lot brawl at the Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz happened, despite it being a little bit goofy at the end. They did beat the shit out of each other and had a pretty damn good match. And Big E and Sheamus beat the hell out of each other here. Unfortunately, that was the high point of the show. Because then it got a little silly and got a little stupid. Jey Uso's in the ring, and we then cut to the New Day celebrating. And Kayla looking at Big E like she wants some of his milk. Have fun on seeing that. I like Kayla. I think Kayla channeling her inner Bob Sparkplug Holly was really nice. And New Day is back together. We get Kofi and Xavier. They want to go after the tag team championships, which they'll get later. And then Heyman's on the screen, and then Reigns is there and says, the highest stakes in WWE history. So what are they going to be? It's an I Quit match. Inside a Hell in a Cell, inside the Thunderdome, inside the Amway Center, which is inside a WWE ring. It's all like a little marble around that cat's necklace of on Men in Black. Remember that? Remember that movie? And then the infinitely worse sequels, Men in Black International. Anybody? So anyway, yeah, it's going to be an I Quit match inside a Hell in a Cell. There will be consequences when he says I quit. Is he going to kill him on pay-per-view? I mean, what other consequences could there be other than saying I quit? You have to be my servant? I mean, seriously, is he going to make him a servant? What the fuck? Are they going to go absolutely insane with this? Are they going to separate the Usos? Are they going to pull a Triple X, America's Most Wanted from Turning Point 2004? I'm not saying I'm that interested in what Reigns and Jey Uso are doing, but at least they're trying to make it more, they're trying to drum up interest. And I give them credit for that. And you can tell these guys are trying to create a personal feud. Whether I buy into it or not, they at least seem to be doing some good stuff. And then Stephanie says that New Day will get the tag title shot tonight. So, they call her an influential CEO. Again, philanthropy is the future of marketing. It's the way brands are going to win. Stephanie McMahon is an embarrassment, quite frankly. Now, sure, businesswoman, she might be better. She's also just as ruthless as her dad and probably has the same mindset about wrestlers that her dad does. So, AJ goes to Raw because he just wants to avoid Paul Heyman, or he just wanted to be on Raw and wanted to be feature bearer. I have no idea. Probably the Heyman thing. Sasha stays on Smackdown. Naomi goes to Raw. Okay, cool. I mean, it's kind of bad they're separating her from her husband, assuming they don't separate the Usos and Jey goes off on a singles push. And Jimmy, I think she's married to Jimmy, goes to Raw, and they maybe they create a mixed tag team championship on Raw. Who the fuck knows? Bianca goes to SmackDown. Okay, I don't think that's actually that bad. They could feature her a little better. I think the Street Profits are going to be going to SmackDown, so husband and wife Montez and Bianca are not separated. And Nia and Shayna stay on Raw. Good. I want to know what segments to avoid on Raw, and now with Nia involved, I can know which segments to, avoid. And commentary mentions that Miz and Morrison are the greatest tag team of the 21st century. Miz and Morrison aren't even in the top 50 of tag teams in this century. And I mean, you guys can argue about that if you want. It's not that they're a bad team. I like Morrison. Miz is good in tag teams and good as a single, but no, they're fucking not. How long were they together? They've been together, about another year so far. Maybe, just under a year. And they were together, 2 years? Before they separated, with one of the drafts, I think back in 2009, I believe. No, they're not one of the greatest tag teams of the 21st century. Good fucking God. I can name at least 10 for New Japan if I had the time, but I don't, because I don't want to take up all that time here. Riddle and Jeff versus Miz and Morrison. Of course, 2011 Jeff Hardy would have loved to have been around somebody as high as Matt Riddle. Thankfully, Jeff Hardy has 1 year of sobriety. And while I knock Jeff, good for him. He finally fucking did it. Good for him, because he should want to see his kids and his wife grow. He should want to grow up with his wife and see his kids, grow up. So, we get the Bro Derek for 3. I don't really care about Riddle, honestly, and if new developments mean anything, Riddle might... Riddle could be in a whole lot of goddamn trouble if this stuff is true. And suddenly, Lars Sullivan shows up. Great, because did anybody miss Lars Sullivan? Was there a clamoring to have Lars Sullivan return and dominate multiple men at once, like his true calling? Let me just say this much. I don't give a damn what Lars Sullivan did before he got into wrestling. I don't. I just find it funny that a guy that was so goddamn hateful for years and years, even if they were old posts, and he never apologized for them and said, I've changed. This stuff comes out and all he does is basically he gets injured and then he goes away and he's gone for a year and a goddamn half. The last time he was around was a feud with the Lucha House Party in, April or May of 2019? So it's been almost a year and a half. And he hasn't really changed. They put his name on his tights just so he wouldn't get confused and you would remember to put them on and remember which side to, face towards the camera. It's just, why? Who the fuck cares? The freak accident is back. Okay, I expect him to screw something up in the next 3 months and be fired. I don't see any value with the guy. I saw value in the guy in 2018. And now it's with all that shit that came out, even if he's gotten over that, he's lost value. He doesn't mean anything after being off TV for so fucking long. So, next round, Ricochet stays on Raw. Okay, draft him to New Japan or something because he ain't gonna do anything in WWE. Jay stays on SmackDown. Mandy Rose stays on Raw. Good, okay. I think Otis stays on SmackDown. Good for him. Actually, that was in a later one. Rey and Dominic are on SmackDown. So yes, this whole Dominic And, Ray and Rollins' feud is going to continue. Great, good. That's exactly what I want to say. Keep Aaliyah and, Ray and Dominic's grandmother away, by the way. I know that's his mother, but she looks way older. Just keep them off. Focus on Ray and Dominic. Just do that. And Miz and Morrison are going to Raw. And I got a question. Ray and Dominic are celebrating. Who told Dominic that shirt was a good idea? It's one, who am I to criticize somebody's shirt? I normally wear black shirts anyway. But that shirt was so goddamn loud I couldn't hear anything in the next goddamn segment. It was ridiculous. So we get Sasha and Bayley, SmackDown Women's Championship. They start off hot and everything's going good. We knew this was going to end in a fluke DQ, and it did. Because they have to go to Hell in a Cell with it. They hyped it. I knew it was going to happen. And Sasha beats her down, and we, do that. Okay, so whatever. Moving on. Alexa says to Kevin, she comes up and says, hi. But she doesn't say that, but just the way she reacts. Let him in. I don't wanna. So, we then get Cesaro and Nakamura versus Kofi and Xavier SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It wasn't boring. As you would expect, Xavier looked like he hadn't missed a step. Good for him. Kofi coming back from injury recently. Good for him. And they won the championships. Okay. So now, all of a sudden, Stephanie comes out to announce more drafts. Or more draft picks. So, Kofi and Xavier to Raw, despite being the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And Big E is on SmackDown. Man, it's segregation Stephanie all over again. And I'm sticking with that because I don't fucking care. So, Dana's on Raw officially, even though I kind of figured that. Otis is staying on SmackDown and Angel Garza's on Raw. Hopefully to not be anywhere near that Bachelor chick. I'm glad they got her off of TV because she served no purpose. So, Otis and Tucker are talking about this whole thing. Oh, Miz and Morrison are on Raw, so they'll stop this whole Money in the Bank pursuit lawsuit thing. And Tucker says, they're asking for a continuance. Otis not understanding what a continuance is was the most believable thing on this show, by the way. And Sasha says she has had it with people like Bayley and is going to face her in a Hell in a Cell match. That should be good. That should main event the show. That or Reigns versus Jey Uso. But I think Sasha versus Bayley should main event. And then they can get away from that. Put Bayley on Raw. After that, seriously, just put Bayley on Raw and do a draft pick consideration or whatever and send somebody else there. Send Natty there. Nothing against Natty. I'm just saying, put Natty on SmackDown. I think her and Sasha could have a good feud. And then you could have Lana just sit back there and not do anything, maybe not take all these bumps, and maybe they could just release her and give her a payoff instead of burying Lana a whole bunch. But anyway, the Fiend's entrance took about 4 goddamn years. Next week, the season premiere of SmackDown, a show that never takes a week off. Reigns versus Braun for the Universal title. New Day's farewell match versus Sheamus and Cesaro. And Nakamura. So the bar reunites. And maybe Big E goes heel and turns on his brothers. No, I actually don't think that's going to be the case, but maybe Kofi and Xavier do that and they go more heel. Actually, I just think it's going to be the New Day on 2 separate shows. So, Otis versus The Fiend. For the first time ever, The Fiend wins with a claw. I know it seems like I'm down on the show. I don't care. It's still Bray Wyatt underneath all that stuff. It's still Bray Wyatt. Sorry, it doesn't interest me. And then they have Alexa and The Fiend face off afterwards. Cool, whatever. Let's see what happens on Raw. I just still think it's going to be rearranging the furniture because nothing really happened that was big. Besides Big E staying on SmackDown and New Day and the rest of New Day going to Raw. But anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.